Shilata, I think we can start by sharing an overview of the book. I think it will benefit those of them who haven't read the book yet. So, could you give us that overview?
Yes, unlike, can you all hear me? Yeah? Okay. So, unlike my other collections of poetry, this is not a collection of standalone poems. This is a thematic collection. So, Footnotes to the Mahabharata consists of 5 poetic sequences based on the interior lives of 5 of the most iconic women in the Mahabharata. One of whom is not so well known actually, but the other 4 are. Actually, if anything, fairly visible in the Mahabharata canon. And these women are Ali, who's part of the Tamil Dravidian tradition. You have Hidimbi, Gandhari, Draupadi, and Kunti. So the way the poems are structured are that they're essentially retellings based off other retellings, right, which constitute the source material. So it's really a riffing off of texts that have already been sort of retold based on other texts. So it's an endless sort of refraction of literary texts, if you like. So that's how I see it. The other thing about these sequences of poems is that they are, most of them, structured as dramatic monologues, which is a form that I think many of us in the Anglophone literary tradition are familiar with. But also, so therefore there is an invisible, there is a listener, there is often a silent listener, a Saki or a Tori, and who sort of listens as the heroine. These 5 women sort of reveal their minds, they speak their minds, right? So that's the other thing. And the poems are, they also draw on haikai traditions. So there are haiku, there's this, there's a whole Japanese tradition sort of woven in with the poem. So I've done a bit of experimenting with the form. Yeah.
Could you tell us about that story? I mean, what led to the writing of these poems? What was your what led you there?
Yeah, so I'm really a great believer in serendipity and I think just happenstance. So I started working on these poems at a time when I ended a 20-year long full-time career as an academic. I did that so I could reclaim some time and mind space to write, to think, to do all of the other things that I had been putting off, and so on, right? And so suddenly, as you can imagine, I fell into this sort of vast emptiness, right? And I didn't know how to structure my time. I struggled a little bit with this. And one of my, I think we all perhaps share this impulse. One thing to do when you are faced with this is to sort of start decluttering, doing things around the house, pottering around the house. So I did that. And much of this consisted of actually rearranging the books in my bookshelf, because there was a real mess of books that had come in from my office at IIT, and I had to give away a lot, but I had to also stuff things into bookshelves. At which point I discovered, and that's why I say serendipity, I discovered there's a whole row of books on the Mahabharata, right? Retellings of the Mahabharata. So there was Bhairapa's Parva, which is a Kannada novel which I read in English translation. Subsequently, there was Pratibha Ray's Yajnaseni, Yuganta. Some of these books I had read, but most of them I had remained untouched, as is the case with people with lots of books, I guess, right? And so, I sort of fell into that rabbit hole of the Mahabharata. And I must say here, by way of disclaimer, that I'm not a Sanskritist, I'm not a Mahabharata or a Ramayana scholar, I'm not a scholar of the epics, right? So my writing, my poetry doesn't come from that space. But I think something about these retellings drew me to them. And I began to ask myself, what if I, now that I have all of this time, right? What if I were to write poetry based on these retellings? And further, what if I base these retellings, what if I slip into the skin of some of the women in the Mahabharata and write poems based off that? And what would emerge, right? For me at that point, it was really an experiment. I wasn't thinking of putting it together as a collection or anything like that.
So that's actually my next question. Why women of Mahabharata? Why not men of Mahabharata? I mean, what was that need that you felt to bring in a feminist perspective? And is that something that connects to the other works that belong to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that question. So I sort of grew up as the daughter of a single mother who was divorced back in the 70s, at which point divorce was a stigma. So we were in many ways outliers to society. And growing up, I think you pick up these cues. Nobody tells you to your face that you're these sort of odd ones out, but you pick it up, right? And you also pick up ways to cope with that, with being, so I think to this day I'm very good at being an outlier anywhere, and I'm really glad for that experience. It was hard learning, but I think it was worthwhile. What it also taught me was to look at life through a very different lens, right? And to look at it from the point of view of other women and my mother's life experience, for instance, or my grandmother's life experience, right? And so a lot of my work, and I wasn't really, so I think I came to feminism via experience. It was not that sort of textbook learning, which I came to later as a university student and so on with my PhD and other things. And I was drawn to this whole field of feminist inquiry, if you like, right? As I said, based off experience, really. And so my PhD work was really looking at women writers in the self-respect movement. So that became a book that's just been reprinted now as the other half of the Coconut, Women Writing Self-Respect History, published by Zuban. And a lot of my poems, including the previous collection, Three Women in a Single Room House, really that collection is about 3 generations of women and that whole intergenerational trauma. What does it mean to be part of a family that's not a regular family? So for me, really, I think any text that I look at, I can't help this. It's almost like a bee in my bonnet, if you like, or a tick. I can't help asking, what if we were to rewrite this particular story from the perspective of a woman, right? And what if it's a non-mainstream telling? What becomes of the story? What happens to the hero or the heroine and how we imagine them?